Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 5th, 2014 City of Pacifica Planning Commission meeting. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cooper.
Present.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Commissioner Vadalos.
Here.
Chair Brown. Commissioner Gordon.
Here.
Commissioner Niblin.
Yep.
Commissioner Evans.
Present.
Thank you, Director White. So for a salute to the flag, how about Commissioner Cooper, why don't you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. And moving on to our administrative business, we have an order of agenda. Do I see a motion to approve that order of agenda from somebody? Commissioner Evans.
I will move to approve the order agenda, but I'm going to pass. I have to pass on voting for the minutes as I was not here at the last meeting.
Very good. So now we're on the order of agenda. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Niblin. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes 6-0. Moving on to the minutes, as Commissioner Evans noted, myself and Commissioner Niblin and Commissioner Evans were all absent, so we will not be voting, but there is the minutes of April 7th, 2014 meeting. Do I have a...
I'd like to ask whether or not you got a quorum to
Yeah, we
actually
don't
vote
have
on
a quorum to actually approve the minutes, so we'll hold those over to the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
Okay, sorry.
Good job on the math there. And the next item is the designation of liaison for a city council meeting.
The next few city council meetings are primarily going to be devoted to budget matters, so there's nothing that's particularly related to planning commission activities, though I think you're all welcome to attend and observe the budget proceedings.
Thank you very much, Director White. Okay, we do not have any consent items or public hearing items. We have one consideration item, which is the adoption of a resolution certifying that the 2014 to 2019 capital improvement program is consistent with the general plan. And do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. Before you and for your consideration is a resolution certifying that the 2014-2019 capital improvement program is consistent with the general plan. The government code requires that the Planning Commission review the city's capital improvement program and certify that it is consistent with the city's adopted general plan. The Planning Commission's role is limited to certifying the consistency of the capital improvement program with the general plan, not to approve or disapprove of any particular projects within the capital improvement program. Most of the projects listed in the capital improvement program are carried over from last year. However, there are three new projects. Their titles are listed in the staff report provided to the Commission. Staff has reviewed these new projects against the general plan policies and finds that they, along with the projects carried over from last year's capital improvement program, are consistent with the city's general plan. I'd like to make a correction on the resolution, on the draft resolution. On the second whereas, it says May 16, 2014, actually should say May 5th, 2014. Ray Dungeness of the Public Works Department is also here should the Commission have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee, and welcome, Ray. At this point, it sounds like we should bring it back to the Commission and see what anyone has to say, if anything. What are the wishes of the Commission? Commissioner Vadalos.
I have a question about the snowy plover fence. It says it's going to be there seasonally, and so it's going to have to be removed and stored and then replaced?
That's correct. It's the snowy plover has a nesting season, and it'll only be there during that season, and it'll be stored at Public Works when it's removed.
Okay, and so you have room to store a big
Actually, some of the materials has been delivered for this project already. It was donated by some environmental folks, so we are storing it right currently.
Okay, and can I ask one more question? I missed the council meeting that day. What type of fencing are you going to put up?
The removable fencing will be a metal stake, maybe 4 foot. It'll be sticking out 4 foot high, and it'll have a single eye that will have a stainless steel or metal rubber coated wire, and the post will have signs for municipal code saying do not disturb or do not go beyond this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vaterlaus. And is that Commissioner Cooper?
Yeah, I just have a general question. Is there a set priority for these projects? Is there like a listing of what projects take priority over another project, or is that a city council decision?
That's correct, and it's also, we try to find funding as soon as there is funding for that particular a grant that suits that project, the project goes forward.
So when I looked at the current project of that plover, it was funded by quite a few different grants and not a lot of city money, so that's one of the reasons that it was brought to its quick fruition.
Correct. Actual matter of fact, tonight, Mike Perez, who is the project manager from PB&R, probably can answer those questions.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yeah, it's correct. We actually don't have all the funding identified for the Plover project right now. We received, or rather, I should say, the local Autobahn Society received a grant from the larger Autobahn Society that was facilitated by the Pacifica Shorebird Alliance folks, and that's for part of the symbolic fencing, as well as we've got the cable that Ray described donated. And the other part of the project is a more permanent fence that's along the multi-purpose trail, which will be a recycled wood post, or not recycled wood, it's plastic, right? And with cable along that. And the other pieces of the program include various signage, and we're also going to be incorporating some children's artwork as well.
And I have a question for you. In the erection of that fence every year, is that funded by the Autobahn Society, or is that simply something that the City of Pacifica has to pick up every year?
What we've built into the project, we have a maintenance piece that's built into there, but the actual putting the fence up and taking it down, the Shorebird Alliance and volunteers are going to be doing most of the work. Of course, the city will be there, but most of the work will be done by volunteers, and from what I understand, it will probably take 2 hours maximum to put it up and take it down, which we're only going to do, 2 times a year. It'll go up in mid-August and come down mid-April.
And we have room to store that fence?
Yes, the posts that Ray was describing as 4-foot posts are, well, they're actually probably about 6 feet before you stick them in the ground, and it's, if you can imagine, like rebar. Yeah. And it's about 900, it'll be maybe about 1,200 linear feet of this post and cable that we'll have. Yeah. So it really won't take up that much room.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Perez and Commissioner Cooper.
Yeah, I have another question. Is there a summary that's given as far as the overall expenditure for these programs? I mean, I look at this manual. I think it's consistent with what we're trying to do here. I find it very unfortunate that most of these projects don't have any funding for the budget. I think that's very unfortunate for our city and for the residents of our facility. Some of these projects, for instance, the community center, putting in sidewalks and basic stuff with the partitions in the restrooms and just the things that our citizens use every single day, would seem to me to be the priority projects for our city. Those are the things that we touch every day. Those are the things that we use every day. So, I really urge everybody to really take a look at this plan and put your dollars where you think that your dollars need to go, because this is kind of sad that you don't see the budgets being funded for these programs. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooper. Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Chair. Just more of a clarification question. Other than these three new ones, the other items that were carried over, this question to staff, we approved these all last year then and certified them for, did we not?
That is correct. They've been approved.
So in essence, we're just looking at these three new ones really for addition to this year's CIP.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Commissioner Neblin?
Yes, thank you. And actually, this is a follow-up, I think, to the question that was just asked. There's nothing that would stop us from revisiting other projects if we chose to look at whether or not they were in conformity with the general plan. Is that true?
Yeah, I think, from a technical sense, the CIP is readopted every year. As Commissioner Evans mentioned, the vast majority of these projects were already adopted in previous years, and this commission has already made the finding that they were consistent with the general plan at that time.
Okay. Which then leads, I guess, to my next question. In years past, have there been any particular concerns raised by planning commissions with respect to any of the projects on this, in the capital improvement program with respect to general plan conformity, to the extent you know?
Not to staff's knowledge.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I am not seeing any more lights, which means that at this point, I'm wondering if somebody wants to make a motion. Commissioner Cooper.
I'll move that the Planning Commission adopts or certifies the City of Pacifica 2014 to 2019 Capital Improvement Program and is consistent with the general plan.
Very good. Commissioner Evans.
I'll second that.
Mr. Chair, before we vote, I know this is a consideration item, not a public hearing item, but there are a couple of members from the public present. I'm not sure if they wanted to speak in this item or not, but at times the Planning Commission has extended that courtesy to people who do come to the meeting.
A very good point to make, Director White. So if anybody from the members of the community sitting out there wish to speak to the Planning Commission, why don't you raise your hand? And why don't you come forward and no, only on this resolution? Okay, there we go. Very good. So no members of the public are asking to speak on this item. So therefore, we've got a motion and a second, and let's proceed to a vote. And the motion passes 6-0. Very good. So we are done with our consideration items at this point. Let's go on to commission communications. Are there any commissioners wishing to say anything on an item that's not on the agenda? Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you to the city. I was able to go March 26th through the 28th to the League of Cities Plan Commissioners Academy held here in Burlingame. It was a very, very good opportunity, I believe, to get to hear all the new items that come up. It's a good way to meet your fellow commissioners throughout the state. I met several very interesting people, and we talked about similar issues that cities had, and all being, as my co-commissioner Cooper said, money being one of the biggest ones. But I just want to say thank you. It was a very, very good opportunity, and I hope we get to continue with this. So thank you.
Thanks for that report, Commissioner Evans. That sounded like an interesting event. Let's see, Commissioner Campbell.
I just wanted to extend a thanks to the city for helping put on an excellent Earth Day celebration along with the Pacifica Beach Coalition. I thought it was really well done. And I thought the snowy plover exhibits were excellent, if anyone got a chance to take a look at those. And again, good job, Pacifica Beach Coalition. Good job, city.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Cooper.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the City of Pacifica. Too bad Mike isn't still here, but we did hold our was it 14th annual Fog Fest tournament, or soccer tournament. We used 8 different facilities, 7 in Pacifica, over 13 different fields. I think the city stepped in and was able to mow those fields, as well as the Pacifica Unified School District was able to maintain those fields, and we had a really great turnout. Hundreds of families came out to Pacifica, so I think it's really good for our businesses and for the revenue, but the city did a wonderful job supporting us, so thanks.
Very good. I'm not seeing any more lights, so I'm going to move on to staff communications, if there are
Nothing
any.
additional at this time?
Okay. So at this point in the meeting, we're going to oral communications, and this portion of the agenda is available to the public to address the Planning Commission on any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission that is not on the agenda. And each speaker can have 3 minutes. So why don't you step forward and state your name, and after you're done speaking, do we have cards to fill out?
There are cards. If you could give that after, that would be fine. Great. Thanks.
Okay, hello. Thanks for hearing me out. I'm Tor Nealons from Grand Avenue in Pedro Point. And my wife and I came tonight to raise a concern we have about the preservation of the headlands and the surrounding areas that are located at the top of Grand Avenue. We own property which adjoins the headlands, and there's a very steep vacant lot next door to our property which attracts both foot and vehicular traffic coming up our narrow street to access the headlands illegally through our property and through that of the vacant lot next door to us. The area at our house is very steep, and the lot next door to us is even steeper. We've seen trespassers slipping and sliding, trying to climb up the vacant lot to access the headlands. We've even had a bad mudslide a few years ago. Recognizing the sensitive habitat of the headlands and the potential for another big slide, we've posted no trespassing signs and asked trespassers not to cross our property, but this hasn't been fully effective. We've also learned recently that Google driving directions assert that our house is at the trailhead. So we're working on getting Google updated, but we also thought it would be provident for us to come here tonight and just let the commission know about this issue in hopes that the city can work with us to do whatever steps it can to ensure that the sensitive habitat is not affected by illegal access from Grand. And we also talked to Lynn Adams at the Headlands Restoration, and she's been very supportive and very clear that legal access is through the highway at the Green Gate. Along similar lines, the vacant lot next door to us has been for sale for quite some time. We were recently contacted through the contractor who built our house, Dave Blackman, by someone who said he was in contract to buy the property, Michael Connell. Under his proposal, our lot would become 8,750 square feet larger, and our lot's assessor's parcel number would shift to his property. He also said we'd no longer have to pay property taxes on that APN, and he would gain a building site for a second house. It's our understanding if he can do this adjustment, then he could build 2 larger houses, where now only 1 smaller size house can be built on this parcel. So given the delicate habitat and the potential for landslides, we were concerned about how this would affect the geology and the ecology of the area, and just so wanted to pose a few questions. And please excuse the basic nature of these. We're new to this and just kind of trying to educate ourselves about all this process. We wondered if a special land movement study, or EIR, would be needed for development posed on this kind of steep site. We also weren't sure if 2 properties could share the same assessor parcel number, or exactly how that kind of thing would work. Who would pay taxes on property transferred to us in this kind of manner, because we're not really familiar with that kind of process. And lastly, can private property owners create public trails or access points to the headlands? So we want to be clear when we pose these questions that we're not against development or private property rights. Rather, we're just raising these concerns because we want to do what we can to ensure the preservation of the area, and that any housing that is built takes these considerations into account. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And, okay.
I have a question. Oh, okay.
Okay. That brings our meeting to an end, and perhaps there is a motion to adjourn somewhere.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Vaterlaus.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Please vote.
Who was the first on that?
And And that motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much, and this concludes the Planning Commission meeting for this evening.